You can align divs with one another by setting the same value for the top. So let's set the top of column 1 to 20, and then let's set the top of column 2 to 20. And I'll know that those two divs are perfectly aligned with each other and that they're both 20 pixels inside the left div that contains them. Let's go ahead and draw the div for the photo on the right now. And let's go ahead and click and drag to create a div for the big image. Remember, once you have the div in place, you can always adjust the size by clicking and dragging on any of these little squares. So you can get it almost exactly where you want it just by clicking and dragging. I still find, however, that the easiest way to position divs and to adjust their size is to use the property inspector. So let's go ahead and insert the image into this div. So just clicking on the Insert Image icon. And you'll find in your project files, in the version of the site for this lesson, in the Paintings folder, I have a special folder called My-Leaves, and it has a collection of just the images that you need for this page. So if you go into the Paintings folder, the image we want here is called Solo, and you can see the preview here. Or if you're on the PC, you can also choose the View Thumbnails option. Click OK. Give it some alt text. We'll just type in Solo. And now that we have the image in place, we can use the size of the image. So if I select the image, I see it's 520 by 420 to precisely size the div. So if I select the div now, I can make it 520 by 420. So now I know that div is exactly the size that I want, and I can click and drag on the crosshairs to try and line it up. And notice the line in the background for my tracer image is a nice guide for me. You can click and drag, and you can also use the arrow keys when you're working with absolute position divs. So I can arrow that up and over. And if I want to make sure that these two columns are perfectly aligned, I can use a guide. So let me drag a guide down. And I can use the guide to adjust the other two divs. Now, sometimes I find it easier to move the divs out of the way for a moment. And now, because these are nested, I can move them as one unit. And let me use the guide so I get that to exactly 100 pixels. I know that's where I want that positioned. And now, when I select this div, I can set the top to 100 pixels. And then when I select the left div, I can set the top of the left div to 100 pixels. And I know that those divs are perfectly aligned with each other.